Imagine standing in the embalming chamber of ancient Egypt. You are a royal embalmer, and before you lies a pharaoh's wife. But this is no ordinary preparation for the afterlife. You have been commanded to preserve her body in a manner that violates every sacred rule you have ever known. The order fills you with unease, for it defies centuries of ritual and belief. This is not a work of fiction. It is a glimpse into the realities of ancient Egypt, a world of beauty, devotion, and power, but also one shadowed by practices and beliefs that challenge modern understanding. Beyond the golden treasures and towering pyramids lay customs so complex and disturbing that early archaeologists chose to conceal them. For over 3,000 years, along the banks of the Nile, Egyptian civilization flourished. Its people built monuments that touched the heavens and developed rituals that sought to unite the human spirit with the divine. But intertwined with their religion was a conviction that human vitality, physicality, and the cycles of nature were directly linked to cosmic harmony. In this belief system, the pharaoh was not merely a ruler. He was a living god whose actions were thought to sustain life itself, determining fertility of the land, the flooding of the Nile, and the prosperity of the kingdom. The power of life and creation was seen as sacred energy, a force that bound gods and humans. Yet this belief could also turn dark. When nature failed, when the river did not rise or crops withered, the people feared the cosmic order was broken. In desperation, rituals grew more intense, often taking forms that later generations would find deeply troubling. Centuries later, evidence of these rituals was uncovered in temples, papyrus texts, and burial chambers. Many early explorers, confronted by imagery and inscriptions they could not reconcile with their own moral codes, reacted with alarm. During the 19th century, several discoveries were deliberately concealed. Wall carvings were covered, papyri were locked away, and reports were edited to omit entire sections of ancient text. Victorian sensibilities could not accept the possibility that one of history's most revered civilizations had blended spirituality with acts they deemed indecent or profane. Among the most haunting revelations came in 1925, when Howard Carter's team examined the mummy of Tutankhamun. The forensic study revealed unexpected alterations to the body, suggesting deliberate post-mortem modifications. These findings, though puzzling, reflected a broader ritual tradition, the preparation of the deceased for a perfect spiritual existence. The Egyptians believed that the physical form must be made flawless for the afterlife, so every detail of preservation carried religious significance. Further examinations of royal mummies revealed similar practices, some involving intricate procedures designed to symbolize divine transformation. Inscriptions describe the process of making the body pure, preparing it for service to the gods beyond death. Though unsettling to modern eyes, these acts were expressions of profound faith in eternal perfection and cosmic balance. But ancient Egyptian society was not free of suffering. Historical texts and archaeological evidence suggest that devotion to divine order sometimes came at great human cost. Within elite households and temple systems, individuals were often treated as instruments of ritual rather than as people. Those of lower status, servants, laborers, and enslaved, faced harsh conditions justified to the language of religious necessity. Over time, such systems created an undercurrent of exploitation that would leave lasting scars on Egyptian society. When natural disasters struck or political turmoil arose, religious leaders sometimes intensified ritual activity in hopes of restoring harmony. What began as devotion could descend into frenzy, transforming faith into a tool of control. One of the most dramatic examples of this transformation was the ancient festival known as the Feast of Drunkenness. Originally a celebration of rebirth and divine mercy dedicated to the goddess Hathor, it was inspired by a myth in which a vengeful deity was calmed by intoxication. Over centuries, the festival evolved into a massive public event involving music, dance, and communal celebration. But ancient records and foreign observers describe it as a time when social boundaries dissolved completely and order gave way to chaos. Participants believed that through ecstasy and excess, they could communicate directly with the divine. For a brief moment, all ranks, nobles, priests, and peasants, were equal before the gods. Yet this suspension of structure often led to disorder, violence, and tragedy. Entire cities halted normal life as people sought transcendence through ritualized intoxication. To the Egyptians, this was not mere indulgence. It was a sacred cycle, chaos followed by renewal. But to later civilizations, such events symbolize moral decline. Greek and Roman writers, witnessing remnants of these celebrations, express horror at what they perceived as barbaric practices hidden beneath a veil of spirituality. When the Greeks and later the Romans assumed control of Egypt, these ancient customs faced suppression. Hellenistic rulers attempted to align Egyptian worship with their own values, while the Romans outlawed many rituals entirely. Temples were cleansed of imagery considered inappropriate, and sacred texts describing earlier ceremonies were destroyed. The collapse of Egypt's spiritual system created a profound identity crisis. For generations, Egyptians have believed that divine order depended on human participation in sacred cycles. When those practices were banned, they lost not only their rituals but the very framework that had defined their relationship with the gods. Roman chroniclers describe the aftermath, a society struggling to reconcile faith, morality, and trauma. Some Egyptians attempted to preserve fragments of their traditions in secret, while others turned to new religions that promised redemption without the burdens of past. By the time Egypt became a Roman province, much of its ancient heritage had been deliberately erased. Over the centuries that followed, knowledge of its most private rituals faded from collective memory. When European explorers rediscovered Egypt in the 19th century, they unearthed not only monuments and treasures, but also evidence of forgotten beliefs, some so confronting that they were hidden once again. In many museums today, there remain sealed collections and restricted archives containing artifacts that challenge accepted narratives about ancient life along the Nile. Scholars now revisit these materials with fresh eyes, seeking to understand them not through moral judgment, but through the context of their time. A civilization striving to control nature, death, and destiny through sacred practice. Ancient Egypt's legacy is both magnificent and unsettling. Its monuments inspire awe. Its art embodies perfection, and its spiritual vision reveals the timeless human desire to touch eternity. Yet beneath that brilliance lies a reminder of how power, belief, and ritual can intertwine, elevating a culture's greatness while also concealing its darkest complexities. This story is not just about Egypt. It is about the human condition, our endless pursuit of meaning, our fear of mortality, and our capacity to transform faith into both beauty and tragedy.